So this is our webinar on this is our webinar on getting started in ACT or ACT in an hour. And you see we brought up the first screen, which is the welcome screen. And this is a place they've added in this particular version. On the left-hand side, you see some training tips. You'll see options for videos or feature tours or getting started resources, the ACT knowledge base and the online community. It is pretty rare that you'll have a problem that you can't find in one of those places. And so these are what we use for troubleshooting. And so if you don't want to pay the money to talk to us or to do a support, then a support with ACT or something, then take a look here, and almost everything is documented here, and it's just a matter of getting in and doing it. And then the right-hand side, we've got some resources for training and things like that, or articles and stuff like that. Business care, obviously, that just talks about how to sell that. Down on the right below here, related tasks, here's new and improved features. So if you wonder kind of what's new in this version of ACT, you can click on that and see it. Access feature tools, modified preferences and settings, change color schemes. These are all things that are new and in this version of ACT that you can go to, and it'll open up a browser and show you. So there you go. Okay, looking down the left-hand side, we're going to go to contacts, because this is really, ACT is what's called a contact-centric database. And so the first thing we popped in, this is our contact screen. Being a contact-centric database, we're going to look at contacts from person by person by person. So the first person that pops in, this is called the My Record, and so we're logged into ACT as a guy named Chris Huffman. And when you log into ACT, you'll be logged in as you. And so, yes, you do need to have a record inside of ACT. We've had people that go in and they change the record of the My Record to somebody else, and watch what happens. So let's say I've got a customer named Mary Smithers. I go, hey, Chris doesn't need to be in the database because I'm Chris and I know I'm me. Let's change this to Mary. And as soon as you click OK and press save, watch this scheduled with. All the way down it says Mary Smithers. So now you're looking inside of ACT. You go, oh my goodness, Mary Smithers has hacked my database and she has scheduled all these meetings for herself. Believe it or not, I've had that. No, the My Record is used for scheduling, sending emails. It's where your information comes from. So you have to have a My Record. And it's a very easy problem to fix. So I just change it back to Chris Huffman, and there he's all back again. So this is the My Record, and let me give you kind of a quick 5-minute tour. On the My Record, you would fill out information about yourself, name, address, phone number, city, state, zip, email, and things like that. But here's my day in the life of, let's say I'm working a day and somebody named Melissa calls, and she goes, ring, ring, Melissa here, and I'm going, okay, Melissa, who is Melissa? And I got 10,000 people in my database. I don't know who Melissa is, so I just go up to the top left, right here, and I type in Melissa. And I press OK or go, and it finds all the Melissas in my database. And I go, oh yeah, Melissa Weather. So I can double-click, and there she is. And while I'm here, I can go and review things like her address, her email address, her website. Maybe I want to go take a look at her website. And if it's there, you can go see it. Down at the bottom under activities, we can see, meetings we have scheduled with her, sales opportunities or deals with Melissa, histories or phone calls we've done with Melissa, notes and things. So, good information there. Now, in the meantime, while I'm talking, let's say somebody named Jonathan calls. I go, okay, put Melissa on hold. Type in John, and there's Jonathan Summer. So now I can look and go, oh, okay, there's stuff about Jonathan. There's our histories. There's our activities with him. There's sales opportunities if we have them. I can tell Jonathan, just a second, I need to schedule a call with you to call you back. And so I go up to phone call, and I schedule a phone call to call him back tomorrow, same time. And I'm just going to say call back. Click OK. You'll see this goes to Jonathan's activity tab. And I can take Melissa off hold. I hit the back record. I'm back on Melissa's record, and I can keep talking to her. So while I'm talking to Melissa, I can do these things. I can obviously schedule a meeting. So maybe she says, hey, let's get together next Tuesday. Well, to schedule a meeting, I go to the meeting button. I scroll and choose next Tuesday, the 20th. I'd say let's meet from 11 to 12. And it's an hour-long meeting. And I'm going to say lunch meeting. Lunch meeting for proposal. And I want to be alarmed of this effect about 30 minutes before it happens. Click OK. It tells me if I have a conflict, I'll just say OK and accept it. And now you can see my lunch meeting. Now what this gives me, if I go to my calendar and I go look at next Tuesday the 20th, there's my lunch meeting. Okay, it's on my calendar. I can go to the daily, weekly, work week calendar. So here's my lunch meeting. So maybe during my phone call she says, oh, hold on a second, I can't meet on the 20th. Let's see, what's your calendar look like on the 21st? Well, I got free time, so all I've got to do now is just click and drag this over. And now I've rescheduled it. This conflict is because I've got a Computer Trade Associations meeting at the top, and so ACT is going to warn me about that. If I want to go back to Melissa's record, I can just right-click, choose Go to Contact, and it goes straight back to Melissa. Okay, other things while I'm on her record, maybe I want to put in a note. So notes in ACT are a place for background information about somebody or inter-team communication. So for example, I might put in a note by clicking this box or this box, same thing. I'll say click note, and I might want to say, Melissa works half day on Fridays, and big Texans fan because I'm in Texas. All right, here's what I don't suggest you do. You don't want to use notes for phone calls. You would not put, called Melissa and we talked about the deal that is supposed to close next Thursday, and she wants us to go meet with her boss so that they can get the financing into the financing department and cut us a check by the 17th. That's a journal. And ACT is, you can certainly journal inside of ACT, but the problem with that is it's really hard to search. And so what is better than journaling is to record a history, or a history is a meeting that has happened or a phone call that has happened. So here under history, I would record that this was a call. I'm sorry, I would record a history, this button right here. I can tell that this was a history that was a phone call type of history. And I call this the initial meeting, initial communications. And here I might say, okay, so that's the result of my phone call. Now, if during this meeting she says, you know, I've got this deal, it's worth $10,000 and it should be closing in a couple of months, then I'm going to go to opportunities, and you'll see up at the top under the new button, I've got new opportunity. So for Melissa, maybe I want to call this, it's a new new construction project. And she told me it would close in a couple of weeks, so I'll say, how about the 1st or the 2nd? And, you know, if you want, you can go down here to products and add one, and you can pick a product, or you can just put in the price. Click OK. Now my deal has a $ to it. You know, you can customize this. You can add other things to it. You can list what's their plan, what's the strategy, what are the obstacles, all of this stuff if you choose to. But what it gives me back under contacts, I can go back and click on Melissa, and I can see now this opportunity shows up under Melissa. Here's something that's kind of cool. We've looked at the opportunities view. We've looked at the calendar view. We've looked at the contact view. Well, there's also a company view. So you see this little hyperlink under her company, Gripping International. I can click here. And I can say, oh, what's going on with Gripping International? I can see that Melissa, Howard, and Jason all work there. I can go to the Opportunities tab, and I can see all the opportunities there. I can look at the histories here. And so we see different histories with different people on the team. If there are notes, you'll see different notes. So for example, if I go back to Jason Mighty, I might put in a note here. It says, Jason is the team lead. Now when I go back to Gripping International and go to notes, you'll see two notes. One's about Jason, one is about Melissa. So this gives me a organization-centric view of my company. Let's say I've got another person that just came to start working at Jason, or maybe I just met at Gripping. Maybe I just met the CEO. Okay, so we go here from the company view, we go to the company menu, and we choose Create Contact from Company. Mr. Bob Biggs, whose title is CEO. And you see, because I started from the company view, now Mr. Bob Biggs is listed here. And I can go and click on this. Maybe I want to put in a history, or maybe I want to make a phone call to introduce myself. And I want to do this tomorrow. And maybe I'll do it at 11 o'clock. Okay, so back under my activities, you see there's this one. I go to the company view, and now you can look and see for my activities, I've got the phone call to Mr. Biggs to introduce ourselves, lunch meeting for the proposal. Under opportunities, I can see my opportunity. And so that's kind of how that works. We've talked now briefly about contacts, companies, calendar. Let's go and hit, we're still kind of going through my day in the life of. So remember, I'm still back on the phone with Melissa. I can go back and play leapfrog, go back to Melissa's record. We can look up notes, histories, opportunities. Let's talk about documents. So documents, what's possible with this, we can attach a document. So I can go click on Add Document and click on File. And maybe I want to just browse to my desktop. And let's say I've got a file here called, oops, no Office on this computer. Okay, we'll just do a text file. Okay, so there's resume, click that, click OK, and that's attached. You can also make a shortcut to a file, or you can put a link to a file. So if your document is a Google Doc or a SharePoint file or a OneNote or Dropbox or Box.net or any of those things, you can make a link directly to that place. Alrighty, so that's kind of how I work with Melissa. If I want to go find somebody else, let's say, we go and we see Melissa's a prospect up here under ID status. We go, well, gosh, I wonder who else are prospects. Okay, I can right-click, choose Look Up ID Status, type in prospect, and there's 101 prospects. Okay, so now I can look through other folks and see who else is a prospect. But let's say I wanted to send an email to all of these guys that are prospects, and we're going to cover this more a little bit later, but for now, let's just use one of the canned ones. I can go to here's Claire, and let's just send Claire an email, or we'll send Claire a letter. I can't do that. Hold on a second. I got to switch machines. Just a second. Cannot show you that without Office installed on this computer, so I'm going to go to the other machine. So let me talk about email and ACT and Office integration while this is starting up. ACT can integrate with Microsoft Office in the following ways. I can export my lists, like my contact list, my history list, my activity list, my group list, my company list. I can export all of these to Excel if I want to. And so I might want to take my histories from the last several weeks and export those to an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe I want to take my calendars of things that I need to be doing and and export those to Excel. So it's kind of a neat feature. Let me show you that real quick while I do this. Let's go back to contacts. And while we were here, let's say we looked at all the prospects. So here's ID status, right click, look up, prospect, click OK. There's 98 of them in this database. So we'll go double click on this one here. There's Ethan Edwards, who works for Duke Industries. So if I wanted to just write a letter to him, I could go to Write menu and Other Document from Template. And let's just pick one. Here's the Initial Communication Direct Marketing Template. This is going to go Start Microsoft Word and merge out the contacts, or this particular contact, to Ethan's record. So there you see, I should have activated that. So there's my record, my letter to Ethan, okay? Now the cool thing about this, I'm not going to do all 100 of them because it takes a little bit longer, but I'm going to do the first 10. Select them, look up selected. Now I'm going to do Write menu and Mail merge. So I want to take that same letter and merge it to the first 10 people or the first 19 people. Current lookup is the 19 people I have. Hit next. That's my virtual machine crashing. See if it recovers. Boom, there it went. I knew that was going to happen. All right, sorry about that. Let me stop and check for some questions while I'm going. Nothing. All right, let's go here. Start it up again. That's going to take a second. So while that's going on, let me flip to something different to show you. I'll come back and show you the rest of the merge piece. The next topic that we're going to do is, I'm going to spend a lot of time on the next one, but let's say we're trying to keep track of customers and prospects and so on. So if I had, I showed you if I right-click on a field, I can do lookup. And so we looked up prospect the first time, and we saw 101 of them. Let's say we want to see all prospects that are in Texas. So now I'm going to go to the state field and right-click and choose lookup. Type in TX for Texas, and in this case, we're going to narrow the lookup. So narrow the lookup means start with the 101 people we started with and just show me the ones from Texas. And so now we have 5 that are both prospects and from Texas. The other way that we can do it is we can, do an add to. So let's say we want to find everybody from Texas and California and New York. So I right-click, I choose lookup. In this case, I'm going to replace the lookup and show me everybody from Texas. So now I have 13 of these guys. Then we right-click, look up state, type in NY for New York, and we're going to add to lookup. This is an important distinction. Replace lookup would have said, okay, I don't care about the people from Texas, just show me the ones from New York. Now we're going to say add to lookup New York, and that's going to give me everybody from from New York and Texas. You can see them on the list on the right. We'll do one more. We'll add to this people from California. So right-click, look up state, CA for California, add to lookup, and now we've got 65. So that's kind of a good way. Let's say my territory was New York or California or Texas, and now you can look them all up. So another thing that you might want to do, let's go back to this little trick you can do under lookup. I might get this wrong here. Let's go to contacts, and here is add selected to a group. So if you have a group there, you can put them there. Like these might be my territory group. Actually, I'm going to do this a different way. Create company. Groups, there we go. Save lookup as a group. Okay, so that's under the group menu, or the lookup menu down to groups. So here I can call this my territory. Okay, so once I save that, you'll see it populated right here. If you go to add or remove contacts, you'll see the criteria that we made. We said that the state starts with Texas, the state starts with New York, or the state starts with California, which is kind of cool because later on I want to go find everybody that's from Texas, California, New York. All I've got to do is go to groups, go to my territory, and click this little magnifying glass here, which is the my lookup. So that shows me all 65 of them. So let's say that Amanda here at the top is no longer from New York, but she is going to be from New Mexico. Okay, so you see we had 65. We go back to our group. She's no longer at the top. I can right-click, create lookup. Now there's just 64. So it's a dynamic criteria. If I go back and find Amanda, change her from New York or New Mexico back to New York, and as soon as I go back to that group view, it's back to 65, and she's at the top. Create lookup, and there she is. So that's kind of something you can do with groups. Another way to do a group is I can say, let's take my customers, and you can actually see here, instead of my territory, I'm going to call this one my customers. Group, new group, my customers, hit add or remove contacts, and now we can say, okay, the criteria to be in the my customers group is that the field called ID status contains the word customers or customer. Add to list, preview, 66 of them. Click OK, and there they are. So now if Andy goes from being a customer to a contractor, go back to that group, and now he's gone. You go back to his contact record, you change him back from a contractor to a customer, you go back to the group, and he is back there again. So that's just some kind of cool things you can do with groups, and our next week's session is going to cover these a little bit more depth. Task list. Task list is how I start my day. So up at the task list, you're going to see these filters: alt dates, types, priorities. I usually set the filter here to past. Past means I should have done it and I haven't done it yet. And so, you want to look and you go, oh, there's 533 past activities. So that means I should have done them. So what do? I'm going to select them all, right-click, create lookup, and there's the 67 people that have some activity in the past. I just go back to the detail view and I go through them one by one. So here's Chris. I go to activities, I call him, I do it, I go click this and mark it as complete. Then I go to the next one. There's Juliet. Year-end budget meeting. Oh yeah, I had that, I just forgot to write it down. I can close it, clear it, close maybe the coffee meeting. I decided to skip it, so I'll just erase it. And so see what I do, I go through my task list of activities that I have met or missed, and if it's inactive, if a activity is in the past, it should be rescheduled, or it should be erased, or it should be done. You know, that's why I start with this in the morning on my task list. I make sure that this past is cleared, done, marked as complete. Then I flip this over and set this to today. So, you know, this is the stuff I'm supposed to do today. And if I got 15 phone calls, I know I've got to do 15 phone calls throughout the day. But if I do them all at the end of the day, this list is going to be blank. So at the very end of the day, I go back to this filter and I look at this and set it to tomorrow or tomorrow in the future. This tells me what I'm doing tomorrow. And so that lets me look through anything that I have scheduled for the day, you know, in terms of the calendar in one place. Now, I mentioned the history list earlier in Export to Excel. This is the one that doesn't have the, or the other one here real quick. So while this is firing up here, so the history list is a place to let me see all histories. And if you look here under types, you can look for activity histories, activity notes, files, e-marketing, you know, any of these types of histories. So if I'm just trying to look at, you know, activity histories, I can deselect these other ones and just select activity histories, which is going to be phone calls, meetings, to-do, vacations, and so on. And I change my filter, and there they all are. If I want to just find the stuff that has to do with lunch meetings, type in lunch, click on go, and there's all the ones having to do with lunch meetings. So this is kind of where it's kind of cool. I'm on my other virtual machine that has Office on it. So now I'm going to go to my history list, and I want to make this rather broad. We'll do all dates. We've got activity histories. We've got all users selected, and then I'm going to hit this button, which is Export to Excel. So this is going to take all the histories over the date frame and the filters that I chose and send them to Excel. So imagine I set the dates to last week and do this by a particular salesperson. That lets me see really quick, what did you do last week? So once I'm in Excel, I can go to the data menu and I can go to filter, and I can say, well, let's just look at the phone calls that he's made. How many calls did you make, Guy? And you look here and there's 506 of them. 506 by all salespeople. Let's look at just the ones done by Ernest. There we go there. So the other thing you can do, you can go to the insert and pivot table. And in this case, let's do so now you're looking, you know, at tasks completed by salesperson. So we can see, you know, Chris has made 22 calls, Ernest has made 18 calls. There's been a grand total of 47 calls across my whole team. You know, so it's pretty handy way to do all that. So that's what the history list does for me. And the thing we can do in Excel is I can take any of my lists. So let's go to the contact list, and let's say I wanted to get my customer list. Okay, ID status, look up, call this customer. There's 68 customers. If I want, I can customize the columns under options, customize columns. Maybe I want to include children's names and club associations in this. There they all are. I hit the Export to Excel button. That takes those 68 records and the columns that I selected and sends them over to Excel, which you see right here. I got to figure out how to turn my phone down a bit. That was kind of loud. I'm sorry about that. Alrighty, so that's export to Excel. E-marketing, I'm going to spend a whole session on this the next time, so I'm going to just kind of skip that for now, or 2 times from now. Marketplace is a place if you want to go look at add-ons and things like that. Reports menu, here's kind of a quick thing on reports. In ACT, you need to do a lookup before you run a report. So for example, if I want to see my activity with prospects, I would go lookup menu, ID status. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Lookup menu, ID status, customer. So there's my 68 customers, and now if I want to run my report against them, I go to the reports view or the reports menu, and let's say I want to run let's do the history summary report, or the notes history report down here. So once I do this, I'm saying, okay, this is done by the current lookup. We want all notes and histories for the current month. Click OK, and you run it. And if there are any, and there's not in this case, let's pick a different list. Let's go to the contact list. So I can also get there from report menu. Here's phone list, for example. So there's one with some data. Okay, but it's important that you do your lookup first, and then you run your report secondly. The filters are not part of the report, so you can't say, hey, show me a report that is, by record manager and filtered by customers and so on and so on. You do that lookup first, then you run the report. So there's other reporting tools that can do it other ways, but that's the short view of how reporting works in ACT. Other thing that I haven't shown you yet is the search window. This is called the Universal Search. It came into ACT a few years ago. So with this, I can search the whole database. And so if I want to look for coffee, you type that, you click OK, and here's everything that has to do with coffee. You've got notes having to do with coffee, opportunities with coffee, contacts with coffee, and so on. And if you pick a particular entity, you can say, well, just show me the contacts that have coffee. You click that, and there's just the contacts that had the word coffee in them somehow. So if you're, if you're specific in there, you can kind of go and get that out of there. All right, dashboards. I'm just going to show you that they're here, and basically looking here, you see you've got a dashboard for activities, so you can see your schedule at a glance, activities by user, default dashboard. The nice thing about these are drillable. So you think, okay, let's look at the current month calls by user. You click there, and there they all are. If you go to the opportunities dashboard here, and if there was something selected there, so instead of current month, I'd say all months. Should see a little bit more data then. There you go. So now you can say, oh, show me those that are at the presentation stage. I click on that. It takes me to my opportunity view where I can sort by that. All right, so that is my session for today. I'm going to check the chat screen. If you have a couple of questions, I'll be glad to do that. We're going to do one, I believe, in another week where we'll cover reporting and looking up. And then the last one, we're going to talk about e-marketing. So I sure hope this helped you a bit.